A humongous shout out is necessary to give to the one and only Maxwell Britten. Yeah, Max, we're talking about you for coming through for an amazingly dope ATC exclusive. We're talking about his new book with T-Pain, Can I Mix You a Drink? We also have a ton of insight onto the cocktail world. So much happened in this Q&A. Let's jump right into it.
Jotted down so far.
Okay.
So first of all, I mean, I don't know how familiar you are, with like the cocktail scene, but obviously it's been growing and has become, very international over like the last 15 years, and has really hit the mainstream. But as far as my knowledge goes, this is really the first time a serious bartender has done a collaboration with an iconic entertainer and musician that has resulted in a cocktail book. Mm-hmm. We see these kinds of collaborations happening with chefs and, other sort of artistic collaborations that might result in publication or other works of art. But, this is the first time you really see people from two really, really different worlds getting together and producing something truly unique and done for the first time.
Nice.
So that's what I think is like the most original aspect of what T-Pain and I have created together.
Okay.
And then another thing, and so I'm kind of keeping this to the side of like cocktails for now, but I know we're going to get into some hip hop stuff as well, which I'm looking forward to talking about.
Okay.
But just to kind of keep it in line with the vibe on the cocktails, it's a reminder that, while, cocktails are taken really seriously, I mean, maybe even too seriously, that this is, that they can still be really fun. And in some cases, some of the recipes in the book are, kind of austere or decadent. In other cases, they can also be kind of sardonic and whimsical. And in that sense, there's a lot of personability to it, which is really consistent, I think, with T-Pain's personality. And, that's just another thing that kind of makes it a little bit more of an engaging kind of book. And of course, it's also set to the backdrop of, some of the most iconic songs from his catalog. So not just can you, learn a lot about being able to make expert cocktails from an expert point of view, but you can also just listen to some really great music while you're doing it.
Yes.
So I think that's probably the strongest pitch of the three that I have to share with you. But then the final one is that, it's I guess it's like more of a follow-up to the second one, which is it's great for entertaining. It's great for parties and impressing your friends. And who doesn't want a cocktail menu that's been dreamt up by the original rapper turned singer?
Yep.
Right? Like that's kind of like my top three quick rundown listicle for you.
No, I love it. And Maxwell, for really the duration of this Q&A, I kind of want to kill the whole Q&A and interview vibe. It's really going to be more conversational. So sure. Just get relaxed, have a sip of something if you need. But what I love, right, and this is going to be Go Cyrus Go. This is Cyrus from Attack the Culture. This is my one or two top ones. Is I cannot believe how beautiful of a book this is. Like the last book, there's probably two kind of hip hop but artsy books that I have on my coffee table. One is called F That's Delicious by Action Bronson, right? Mm-hmm. And then the other one is a super throwback. This came out in, I want to say 2010, 2011, but it's called Kulo, and it was Diddy and Jimmy Iovine, and I forget the photographer that did it, but it was basically all these women's backsides, like the beauty of a woman's backside, right? And like super artsy. This is one of those rare books I can put onto my coffee table and it just looks absolutely stunning. Did you have any idea it would look this amazing? The physical copy and even the digital version is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I knew the vision pretty well, far in advance, kind of before anything materialized. Obviously, I had a great deal to do with the content within the book, the recipes. Mm-hmm. And, we also had a really excellent stylist and photographer join up with us that, we're able to really carry out what that specific vision was, what T-Pain and I really had in mind for the way that we wanted the cocktails to be presented. And then, T-Pain had the fortitude to put his foot down and say, like in terms of like the color scheme, wanting those black pages, really wanting to build out that color scheme that he truly believed was going to make it this iconic publication, which didn't necessarily come easy, I think, in the beginning, but I knew that that's what he really wanted, and it comes through in, when you have that book in your hands and when you open open it up and turn those pages, and not to mention, just that beautiful hardcover copy,
Yep.
with the embossed gold, emblem of his face right there in the center, and you can really feel the book when you put your hand on it, which I love. I love the feeling of holding it in my hand.
No, definitely. And just out of curiosity for you, Max, was that emblem supposed to be kind of in connection to the whole James Beard like award? Because I feel like a lot of similarities, kind of like what that looks like and this T-Pain, or was that just a coincidence?
I think it's definitely a coincidence,
Okay.
and I think it kind of, but I definitely see the correlation, the sort of like the medallion type of feel, like the James Beard medal, and that's really what that logo, that picture or illustration of him in the center really looks like a medallion.
Yep.
But I think that really speaks to his love for hip hop culture, hip hop fashion, and jewelry and stuff like that. That's definitely where a lot of that comes from, and you see a little bit of that in some of the aesthetic of a few of the cocktails as well that are in the book. Like for example, the 5 o'clock cocktail, which is really just like an adult root beer float with fistful of bourbon and stout and ice cream and whipped cream topped with edible gold flakes.
Oh my gosh. And it's just amazing because as we're talking and throughout the day, I continue to look at this advanced copy that I've had the pleasure of looking at, and it's so stunning and so beautiful. And I mean, this is a digital version, so I cannot wait to actually get my hands on the physical copy. And it's amazing. And what I really want you to crack into, Max, is I think you mentioned it on your Instagram page, but the 8 grueling months of hard work that I imagine was you and T-Pain putting this masterpiece together. Was that what you were referring to, if you recall?
Yeah.
Talk about
absolutely. We started out on like the initial phases of the book a year ago. So we began in 2020, and it was really from I guess like November through all the way until like the summer of 2021. It was just all testing out the recipes, building off of this kind of riffing off of the catalog and learning more about, like what are the things that need to go into these cocktails, and what's the vision? How do we truly honor an artist, someone like T-Pain, and his musical catalog, and have that really come through in recipes. And so there was just a lot of research, a lot of time spent kind of surveying everything I could do to learn about each and every song that he chose in the catalog, to make sure that I was truly representing his songs and cocktail recipes the best that I possibly could.
Wow. No, absolutely, man. And as you're talking, what I keep on thinking about too is just that pairing. And I think that went down to your second reason. It was actually the first reason. The serious this is a serious collaboration. I'm really curious, not so much like in a negative type of way, but just like, was there any, I don't want to even say hostility, but any concern about this collaboration? Because it's almost like when artists get together, right? Like, oh man, I don't know if I want to collaborate with this artist or so on and so on. But for you, to enter this kind of semi hip hop world, and even for T-Pain, to enter this, I just see it as such a positive for the both of you. It's kind of like you give each other, your own credentials and stripes. But talk about any initial hesitation or excitement about doing this.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm really grateful to do this interview with you, just because I have always been a huge fan of hip hop and hip hop culture, throughout my life, throughout my career. And, that sort of aspect of my personality, especially, what I've come to known to do, doesn't necessarily always come through, because, in the cocktail culture and in that like professional international beverage alcohol space, things tend to be a little bit more sterilized and, a lot more white gloved, if you will.
Yep.
And, but I've been doing this for a very long time. I've been building my credibility, as a influencer to the cocktail industry, as a bartender and as a bar owner, based out of New York for a very long time. So, finally finding myself in front of someone like him over
Yeah.
a long period of time has always been kind of a dream of mine. I did Maison Premiere, which of course is probably like the most reputable, internationally known place that I've come to be associated with. But after I left, I actually I did a couple other projects, and I became the managing partner of a jazz club at the Roxy Hotel called the Django, which was also a cocktail bar. And for me, that was really kind of like stepping outside of this world that was just very cocktail centric, and kind of trying to find a way to merge the two things that I love so much, which is like hospitality and music. And so I think, in the end, to answer your question, it just became actually a really organic opportunity in a lot of ways. Of course, he wanted to have somebody that was, the best in the field. That's the kind of guy that he is. He's out there to find, the people that are the best at what they do. But obviously it needed to be someone that also appreciates what he does and understands what he does. And I'm sure there was a lot of other people that were, maybe getting considered for the same opportunity. But I guess, I kind of checked off enough of those boxes that, we were able to, make this thing happen. My only hesitation, I don't think I had a hesitation. I think that I probably was just a little bit in shock, and maybe not quite understanding the scope of the opportunity.
Yeah.
Realizing, like what an original opportunity this would be, and how unique and how impactful it might be. And I think like him and I kind of have similar personalities, maybe in the way that we like to operate professionally, as far as like wanting to try to do unique things and wanting to do things different. And I'm really glad to see that people are recognizing and noticing, how special, this partnership is.
No, definitely. And without getting too personal on you, Max, I got to get an idea of Yadira. Hopefully I'm saying her name right. Yadira, your wife's reaction. Was that just like, oh my gosh, you're going to be working with T-Pain? What? Like, what was that reaction like?
But it was fun. I mean, she's definitely, not just she's my wife. She's my best friend, and kind of a professional, and also kind of a professional advisor. She's actually the vice president of Ace Hotels Global. So she's kind of a boss in her own right. And, a lot of times when I find myself in new situations, I come to her seeking advice. And, she's also a huge music fan, a huge music lover, and obviously very familiar with T-Pain, just like everybody else. And just, I had to ask, like, what do you think? Do you think this is something I should pursue? Do you think that this is going to be something that I'll be sorry that I don't do if I turn it down? And she was like, yeah, you're going to be really sorry if you don't do this. And, sometimes, I don't often second guess my choices, but sometimes things are unclear. And so I have to refer to my wife, and she says that it's the right move. I said, okay, no questions asked, let's make this happen.
Absolutely. No, I love hearing that, man. That's beyond amazing. Like, honestly, Max, like I said, ahead of this call, I haven't getting a chance to just kind of, look a little bit deeper into you. And I mean, oh my God, I think you're her biggest fan and vice versa. Like you two support each other beyond belief.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. A few more things for you, Max. What's really interesting too, and you pretty much touched up on this already, but I almost look at your grind, like your life grind, almost like an aspiring. It doesn't have to be a hip hop artist, but let's say an aspiring musician, because man, you went through some grinds, man. Like obviously, but before this started up, I referenced Arizona, and then obviously making it out to the big city of dreams, New York, right? You're in Williamsburg, and you pretty much take this operation, Mason, oh my gosh, I'm losing my mind. Maison Premiere, right?
Yeah.
Maison Premiere, and just really turn it into this beyond established. It's almost like an artist going to a label, and then that artist blowing up. Lady Gaga, T-Pain when he did his whole auto tune and blowing up, and then the levels of success, like you've hit that, and then of course the James Beard Award is like your diamond platinum plaque. So I'm just kind of curious, how has this journey been for you? Where does this achievement kind of sit in just your career trajectory?
Yeah, well, it's definitely something that I've been thinking about doing for a long time. Even, I think I honestly may have planted the seeds of this for myself probably about 10 years ago.
Wow.
I was wanting, I actually had even produced a couple of pilots for, some hip hop and cocktail related, it's like web series. The first pilot that I did, this is a long time ago, but you might be familiar with the rapper Jean Grey.
Mm-hmm.
So I just started putting myself around in the hip hop space and sort of in the music industry a little bit more as, kind of as like the cocktail guy, and, really wanted to sort of collaborate and sort of see if there was a way to put these two, cultures, parallel cultures maybe, into one place and, kind of enjoy that kind of exchange that can happen. And I know that for a fact back then, some people could see it, but, maybe I didn't have the credibility yet at the time. Maybe the beverage and cocktail industry wasn't quite, as mainstream as it is right now. There's probably a lot of different reasons for it. I guess I'm sort of not totally answering your question.
No, it's all good. I'm with you.
But I guess I'm just trying to say that, I had to put that down for some time and really put my nose to the grindstone a little bit more and sort of put a few more notches on the bedpost to arrive to this point. As I mentioned, I was managing partner of Django at the Roxy Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
I did a digital property called the Liquor Cabinet. I currently consult to the Auberge Resort Collection. I don't really know where the limit is, to be honest with you, but I do know that I kind of feel like I'm only getting started right now, because I sort of feel like I've only begun in the past, maybe 3-4 years, really doing the things that I want to do, just things that I care about doing, and so that's been really cool. And I hope to take this ride until the wheels fall off, man.
No, I love it. And that's exactly what I was getting at, Max, is pretty much those parallels to an hip hop artist who's blown up, right? Like these hip hop artists, they got demo tapes, that they've been on that grind, and so if anybody really looks into it, they're like, oh my gosh, they've been trying to, or they've been grinding at this for years, and just these past 2 or 3, they've really blown up, and I'm just like, wow, I see so many parallels, and just all that you've already accomplished.
Thanks, Grant. Yeah, I guess you're right. Then I suppose that didn't answer your question, but and that's true, man. That's what it is. I mean, I think that it's from like a sort of like a consumer perspective or like a social media perspective. A lot of these things might look a little newer to some people. I mean, I've been in the press for many years, recognized, but in smaller circles, and of course, like now, kind of getting into like a little bit more of a mainstream spotlight. A lot of people might think, that this is like a new thing, or like, where is this guy coming from? But it's like, hey, I've actually been working my ass off for like the last 15 years, and it's just starting to pay off.
No, absolutely. And promise, just 1 or 2 more things I want to throw at you, Max. One thing in particular, I gotta know, man, just for the people who, especially the hip hop people who are going to be checking this out, explain the significance of that James Beard Award. Is that like a platinum plaque? Is it like a Grammy Award? Explain for your world, for the cocktail world, how prestigious of an honor that is.
Yeah. I mean, well, first of all, the one thing that might be a little bit different, let's say, if you were drawing comparisons to something like a Grammy or an Emmy or even like an Oscar, a lot of those times, those things kind of go to specific individuals. And in this particular case, the James Beard Award is sort of a combination of those things inside of the food and beverage, inside of the American food and beverage industry. So there's all kinds of like different awards and accolades, best ofs and things like that you might see for bars and restaurants. But the James Beard Award is considered to be, probably the most prestigious and the most serious recognition that you can possibly get as a hospitality professional. The one thing that makes it a little bit different, and I guess just to give you a little bit of history about the James Beard Foundation, it's existed for a very long time. The awards have occurred for many, many decades, and they have a lot of different categories that will focus on, let's say like best chef or best restaurant. It's also kind of regional, so it can also recognize like different categories in different parts of the country. And so the outstanding bar program award actually was only added to the James Beard Foundation's awards in like 2011, I believe.
Okay.
So it's still a very new category compared to like Chef of the Year or like Restaurant of the Year, which are one of the two categories that have existed for most of the time the awards have been around. But the one thing that's truly different is like if it's like Best Actor at the Oscars or something, that's going to go to one person. Whereas these really represent kind of like a collective of work that has occurred over an entire group of people, a whole team that is like kind of dedicated to the purpose of like one specific very high standard. So for Maison Premiere, that became the bar and the beverage program. So that was recognizing a bar that is known for world-class cocktails, world-class spirit selection, world-class hospitality, innovation, and really pushing the envelope, and for like a very consistent duration of time. And the thing is that you could be nominated many years in a row and never get it, but it's still a huge honor, even just to be a semifinalist or a finalist. So kind of making it all the way to that finish line is pretty incredible. But again, comparing it to something like a Grammy, you'd have to basically open up another restaurant and another bar to kind of like do that kind of thing all over again. Like once you get that recognition one time, it's kind of done.
Got it.
It's over.
No.
And so a lot of people that do it sort of consider it to be a lifetime achievement. But it can't be done without all of the people and the hard work that teams have to do to put those things together, and it can really break you to go through that type of cause and make it happen.
No, absolutely, Max. And I gotta know, man, you said this, I forget which publication or which interview it was, but I know you've talked about the kind of stresses of having to name an actual drink, right? And I'm just kind of curious, just again, looking at this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful book, did it make life easier or harder knowing that, hey, you at least had T-Pain there to assist, right? Because obviously his songs and his concepts, and then obviously the brilliance that you bring with these specific drinks, was it a little bit more of a challenge having that additional person involved, or did it make things any easier?
Oh man, that was the funnest part of the whole thing.
Nice.
Man.
Okay.
That was definitely the cool, like one of the coolest things that was a part of that experience. And I think I don't know if this has come out in other interviews, but I have said behind closed doors to people before, he kind of saved my life, a little bit, when this opportunity came around and it was time to work on this book and collaborate with him, because there was just not anything going on at the time. That was a pandemic period of time.
Absolutely.
Bars and restaurants were closed. And, I was away from doing like what had become second nature, second life to me, which was, running restaurants and bars, and all of that kind of had stopped. And then here I was in my home office, and being able to talk to him on the phone and go through survey, all of his songs and go through these spreadsheets. And it was kind of like going through kind of what we call like the bartender's choice experience, if you will, that happens a lot in cocktail bars, where someone goes and they sit down at a bar and they say to the bartender, I'd love to have something that maybe has whiskey, and maybe I'd like to have a little lemon juice, and do you have any cool spices or bitters back there? And a lot of the time that kind of can end up being a little bit of like a collaborative experience that can happen between a customer and a bartender. And so in a lot of ways, I kind of felt like I got to do like bartender's choice with T-Pain for 50 drinks, and that was really one of the funnest parts, because it was a hard time for everybody during that period, and that he kind of allowed me to sort of suspend myself in a reality that's most comforting to me, which is being behind the bar and making great drinks for people.
Wow, wow. And Max, just to be clear, this is why I push for like 30. We used to squeeze these interviews in like 10, 15 minutes, but you can never get comfortable enough. And I'm just as like the entire interview has been amazing, or conversation has been amazing, but that portion right there is like the pull out quote. It's because I think people need to realize just how much of a real person you are, because they're gonna see all the accolades and they're gonna see, oh wow, he's this big famous person, but man, like we were all, and some people are still going through it, but going through so much during COVID, and like that was just like, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, man, especially out here in the New York area. Oh my God, I couldn't even go to a movie, man, and I'm a movie fanatic. Like that,
Same here.
I hated watching Netflix, man. Like I need popcorn, I need like friends, I need no one, I need all that at the same time.
Yep. Yeah, totally, man. Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, I think there was a lot going on with that I thought was really special. And it was also an enormous responsibility, like being tasked with like representing someone as iconic as him, and kind of making sure that, you're really delivering something that really honors his reputation, but still also kind of making sure that there's, pieces of myself that are recognizable within that as well. And yeah, man, it was nothing but a great time, pretty much the entire period.
Oh my God,
I love doing it, and he's an incredible person to work with, and I'm not a professional musician, but I've been around him and the other people that work with him, and it really felt like we were working together, or maybe in the same way that he works with a lot of the other artists that he collaborates with.
Absolutely. And there you have it, the legendary. Yes, we are putting a lot of legends on these videos and audio recordings. Lately, the one and only Maxwell Britten, you came through and in such an epic way, was not capping. We are definitely going to have a part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5, part 6, part 7, and a way more parts to be added in our Q&A sessions. Yes, an amazingly dope Q&A. Everyone, make sure to go show Maxwell some love. You wanted to follow him on Instagram at Maxwell Britten. Make sure to also follow At The Culture and just have a good time. A lot more dope stuff is coming through. And Maxwell, once again, appreciate ya.